Good afternoon and good morning and welcome. Good afternoon and good morning and welcome. Bonjour à tous et à tous. My name is Dr. Bukola Salami, CNA Vice President, and I am honored to open today's special ceremony and fourth session celebrating National Nurses Week. I want to begin this session with my land acknowledgement. In Canada, we live, learn, and work on traditional Indigenous territories. We are all direct beneficiaries of policies of expulsion and assimilation of Indigenous people during and since the time of settlement and confederation. CNA acknowledges that the land upon which we are meeting is and continues to be the home of diverse First Nation, Inuit, and Métis people. I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge the land from which I usually live and work, which is Calgary, located on Treaty 7 territory, and Métis homeland. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. I am currently communicating to you from Iqaluit in Nunavut, and I'm grateful for the privilege that I have had to visit this land for the first time. This acknowledgement is made with the recognition that all of us have a responsibility to learn the harsh and devastating impact that colonization has had on Indigenous people, past and present. We have a duty to respond to the calls to action of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada. On behalf of the Board of Directors, congratulations to the recipients of the King Charles III Coronation Medal. This medal recognizes your profound contribution and impact throughout your nursing career. I'm delighted to introduce to you Alexandra Bosrasa, Director of Government Relations and Communication, who will host today's session. Now, I will turn it over to Alex.
Thank you, Bukola. Bonjour, je vais débuter ma reconnaissance territoriale. J'ai l'honneur d'animer cette cérémonie spéciale. Au Canada, nous vivons, apprenons et travaillons sur les territoires traditionnels des peuples autochtones. Nous sommes toutes et tous les bénéficiaires directs de politiques d'expulsion et d'assimilation des peuples autochtones mises en place durant la colonisation et depuis la Confédération. L'AIC reconnaît que la terre sur laquelle nous nous réunissons est et demeure le foyer de nombreux peuples des Premières Nations inuites et métisses. Je souhaite profiter de cette occasion pour reconnaître le territoire à partir duquel je vis et travaille, soit la ville de Québec, ainsi que la communauté voisine de Wendake, que j'ai visité le week-end dernier avec mes enfants, le foyer du peuple Wendat. Aujourd'hui, ce lieu de rassemblement est habité par de nombreuses personnes issues des Premières Nations, des Métis et des Inuits. Cette reconnaissance est faite en toute conscience de notre responsabilité collective d'apprendre les effets douloureux, dévastateurs qu'a eu la colonisation sur les peuples autochtones passés et présents. Nous avons le devoir de répondre aux appels à l'action de la Commission de vérité et réconciliation du Canada. So, on May 6, 2023, Canadians celebrated the coronation of His Majesty King Charles III, the first coronation of a sovereign in Canada in 70 years. This historic event brought communities together to celebrate the values that both King Charles III and Canadians hold dear. To mark this important milestone, the King Charles III Coronation Medal was created to recognize individuals who have made outstanding contributions to their community, to Canada, and to the world. Today, CNA is proud to recognize recipients whose achievements have made a tangible impact on nursing, health, and the well-being of communities across the country. Their contributions reflect the themes of service to others, environmental stewardship, youth empowerment, and the celebration of diversity. Le 6 mai 2023, les Canadiens ont célébré le couronnement de Sa Majesté le roi Charles III, le premier couronnement d'un souverain du Canada en 70 ans. Cet événement historique a rassemblé la communauté autour de valeurs chères au roi Charles et aux Canadiens. Pour souligner cette étape marquante, la médaille du couronnement du roi a été créée afin de reconnaître les personnes qui ont contribué de façon exceptionnelle à leur communauté au Canada et au monde. Aujourd'hui, l'Association des infirmières et infirmiers du Canada est fière de mettre en lumière des récipiendaires dont les réalisations ont un impact concret sur les soins infirmiers, la santé et le bien-être des communautés. Leur contribution incarne les thèmes du service envers autrui, protection de l'environnement, l'autonomisation des jeunes et la valorisation de la diversité. We encourage you to share this proud moment on your own social media. If you feel comfortable, please post a photo of yourself with your medal and tell us what this honor means to you. Don't forget to tag the Canadian Nurses Association. We'll share some suggested hashtags in the chat momentarily so we can celebrate with you and help amplify your story. Nous vous encourageons à partager ce moment de fierté sur vos propres réseaux sociaux. Si vous le souhaitez, publiez une photo de vous avec votre médaille et dites-nous ce que cette distinction signifie pour vous. N'oubliez pas d'identifier l'Association des infirmières et infirmiers du Canada. Nous partagerons des mots-clés dans quelques instants. Each of these individuals has demonstrated leadership, compassion, and a deep commitment to strengthening nursing and health. As their names appear, we invite you to reflect on the breadth of their contributions and join us in celebrating their outstanding achievements. In a few moments, we will present the full list of medal recipients. Dans quelques instants, nous vous présenterons la liste complète des récipiendaires. Chacune de ces personnes a fait preuve de leadership, de compassion et d'un engagement profond envers le renforcement des soins infirmiers et de la santé. Au fil de la présentation, nous vous invitons à réfléchir à l'ampleur de leur contribution et à vous joindre à nous à célébrer leur réalisation. Bonne célébration. Please enjoy this tribute. Félicitations une fois à toutes et à tous, ou à tous nos récipiendaires. Votre engagement renforce notre système de santé et inspire les générations futures. Nous vous invitons maintenant à poursuivre avec nous pour la prochaine partie de l'événement. Juste avant, je vous inviterai, on sait qu'il y a beaucoup d'infirmières, d'infirmiers qui ont reçu aussi des médailles de d'autres organisations. Si vous voulez nous le faire part, nous allons trouver une manière de le souligner sur notre site web. Les médailles qu'on a présentées, c'est les médailles que le processus a eu lieu à travers l'AIC, mais on peut aussi souligner l'excellence puis les contributions des infirmières qui ont reçu à travers d'autres nominations. So I just want to add a little note here. So there's many nurses who's received also medals from throughout other organizations. For example, you could have received a medal from your member of parliament. We want to acknowledge these nurses as well. So we'll find a way. If you want to send me an email to govt relations at CNA IIC.ca, we'll find a way to add your names maybe to the website because those medals we presented were really the CNA medals. So those nominations from third-party nominators that went through us, but many other nurses received medals as well. Congratulations once again to all our medal recipients. Your dedication strengthens our health system and inspires future generations. We will now invite you to continue with us as we move into the next part of today's event. Donc, Dr. Valérie Gurlissa, qui est la DG de l'AIC, s'est récemment entretenue avec Howard Callan, le DG du Conseil international des infirmières, pour discuter de l'état mondial de la profession infirmière et des occasions de leadership en cette période de changement rapide. Dr. Valérie Gurlissa, CEO of the CNA, recently sat down with Howard Callan, CEO of the International Council of Nurses, for a conversation about the global state of the nursing workforce and opportunities for leadership in a time of rapid change. Over to you, Valérie.
Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour et tout et à tous. I'm delighted to be here today with the esteemed medal recipients of the King Charles III Coronation Medal. This week, we celebrate the power of nurses to transform health locally, nationally, and globally. Congratulations to each of you. And now I'm delighted to introduce someone who is no stranger to the global nursing community, Howard Catton, Chief Executive Officer of the International Council of Nurses. Howard is a lifelong advocate for nurses and a powerful voice on the international stage. In just a moment, we'll hear a special video message from Howard as he celebrates your award and medal, and he shares highlights from the 2025 International Nurses Day report, known as the IND report, and gives us insight into key issues facing the nursing profession on the local and global stages. He will answer the question of what's keeping him or ICN up at night. He'll speak to the urgent global issues impacting the nursing profession, such as workforce shortages, economic sustainability, and equity, and what they mean for Canadian nurses. If you have questions you'd like to ask, please enter them in the Q&A function of the Zoom. We will do our best to answer your questions throughout the session, and at the end of the session, I will be making a landmark announcement about CNA's future and the introduction of some new exciting developments. Now let's hear from Howard Catton, ICN CEO. Good afternoon. I'm absolutely delighted to introduce Howard Catton. Howard was appointed the Chief Executive Officer of the International Council of Nurses in February 2019. He is committed to ensure that ICN effectively represents nursing worldwide, advances the nursing profession, promotes the well-being of nurses, and advocates for the health in all policies. He firmly believes that nurses should be at the heart of health policy decision-making and leading healthcare systems and delivery. Throughout his career, Howard has worked and written extensively on issues relating to nursing and healthcare workforce, and he co-chaired the first ever State of the World's Nursing Report. Howard joined ICN in April 2016 as the Director of Nursing Policy and Programs, and he led the development of ICN policy and position statements, working closely with the World Health Organization and other international organizations to provide nursing advice on global health challenges. Today is May 16th, on the last Friday of Nursing Week, and we are so thrilled to have Howard to provide remarks with us today. So welcome, Howard.
Valerie, it's my absolute pleasure to be with you. Let me extend my congratulations to all Canadian nurses on International Nurses Week, and also special congratulations to all of those nurses who have received the King Charles III Coronation Medal. My accent gives away that I'm a Brit, so whilst I'm afraid I can't convey congratulations on behalf of King Charles, as a Brit, I am delighted you are all being recognised in this way. I'm just going to start by sharing with you some of the headlines and highlights from this year's ICN International Nurses Day report. Actually, there are two reports this year. ICN has for many years now set the theme for International Nurses Day that our associations right the way around the world pick up and run with to make a central part of their celebrations for the day or for the week. This first slide gives you the topics, the themes for the last few International Nurses Day. Nurses as a voice to lead, a vision of future healthcare, how we secure global health, our nurses, our future, and what we need to do to support the nursing workforce to deliver on the big global health challenges that we face. But if we're really honest with ourselves in terms of the impact that some of these reports have had, they've been important in terms of showing and bringing forward the evidence as to why nurses are central to addressing global health challenges, but we perhaps haven't seen that translate through into economic investment. We haven't seen hard cash, hard dollars follow some of the policy priorities that have been set. And for that reason, last year, we set a theme of our nurses, our future, the economic power of care, very deliberately to bring to the table the economic evidence that, in addition to the health improvement evidence, demonstrates that nursing is not just good for health improvement, but it's good for economic growth and prosperity as well. And we continued that theme this year with our Caring for Nurses Strengthens Economies report, which adds to the economic evidence from last year and focuses a little bit more on the health and well-being of nurses and the nursing workforce right the way around the world. There are two reports. One report which contains that evidence that I've just described and sets out very clearly the policies that we want countries to adopt. But in addition, the first time that we have surveyed all of our national nursing associations on the health and well-being of nurses, an independently commissioned piece of research which colleagues from the Rosemary Bryant Institute in Australia led for us. And I just want to show you some of the results that have come back from association leaders, including a very important contribution that CNA made. Top right-hand corner of this slide first, we were asking our associations about whether they believed that they had sufficient nursing capacity to meet the demands that were within their healthcare systems. The numbers that are bolded are the top scores for each of these answers, and you can see they're categorized between low, middle, and high income countries. Overall, see that very low score of 38% in terms of associations who feel that their nations are well prepared to address current and future health care needs. Go to the bottom left, figure 3. We ask about the change in demands that have taken place on the nursing workforce since 2021. The reason we picked 2021, just to be clear, is that we had the first State of the World's Nursing report in 2020. We were then hit by the pandemic. And this survey, we deliberately wanted to try and gauge what the trend had been from 2021 through to the end of 2024. This survey was undertaken at the end of last year. It won't surprise you. Nobody says that the demands on the nursing workforce have gone down. 58 to 66% saying it's moderately or greatly increased, and a third to about 41% saying it stayed the same. So we have a picture here of a growing gap between the supply and the demand for nursing, which you can see there in figure 8. And again, the figures, the results are quite stark, and there's only a small number of upper middle income countries who are saying that they believe that gap has decreased. So we have a growing supply demand gap. We dug down then a little bit more into what that meant for the nursing for the nursing workforce. We ask this question. Oh, I'm sorry, I've skipped forward. About changes to pay. The conversion was done into something called price purchasing parity, which is an indicator which tells you about real increases or decreases in pay. Over this period of time, the overwhelming majority of nurses around the world, through their associations, are reporting that there has been little or no change in their pay. Shockingly, I have to say, because I didn't expect the results to be what they are, the numbers who reported a decrease, a moderate or a big decrease in real pay, between 25 and 41%. Some people say we'd expect ICN to say this, but we know OECD have recently reported on stagnant wages or declines in pay for nurses around the world. We ask about whether there are national, regional or organisational plans in place to address the support for the nursing workforce. The bottom graph there, only 51.5%, the overall result, report that they have a national plan in place. Again, shocking in terms of if we've got this growing demand supply gap, if we've got critical issues around pay and retention, that you'd expect the plans to be in place to be much higher. Be looking for 90 to 100% of countries who have plans in place to address these issues. We asked some questions. I'm not going through all of the questions, but just some questions about, well, what plans are in place, particularly to address workforce retention. A question around how well nurses are supported to work to full scope of practice. We know nurses said for many, many years that actually they feel that the limits of their practice are constrained or held back for a whole host of, whether it's organizational or regulatory reasons. But it represents in itself an underutilization of the capacity that exists within the nursing workforce. Overall, 41.1% of countries, of nursing associations, reporting that the support that they get is poor or very poor to work to their full scope of practice. Relates clearly to issues around advanced practice. But interestingly, this related question then about how well are nurses provided with opportunities for career progression. The overall top score here is the 36.8% as well. So some insights here into critical retention indicators where we could be doing much better. We ask about some other key indicators of experience at work. Top right-hand corner here is about experiences of violence at work. You can see these are shockingly high results in terms of both from the general public and from others, from other staff. Between 71 and 86.2% of nurses who have experienced violence at work. The overall average is the 86%. But then we ask, well, what policies are in place to ensure safety and well-being of nurses? The bottom left-hand figure, figure 12, the red's indicating where there are no policies in place. Very concerning. 69.7 and 64.1%, the scores of having no policies in place to ensure right skill mix or safe staffing. We went a little bit further as well and said, but if you do have policies in place, that's great. Give us an assessment of how good the policy is. Is it is it implemented? Is it resourced? Is it evaluated? Is it updated? Is it effective? Is it working? And you can see here on these policies, even where policies are in place, the assessment from the associations, again, the top scores are all in the fair category. So even if we have policies in place, our job isn't done in terms of ensuring that they are the most that they're being implemented as most effectively as they possibly can. Why does all of this matter? Why does all of this matter? Of course, all of this matters in terms of the rights of nurses to decent work, to protection and support, that nurses have rights just like everybody else to be safe and supported at work. But also, there is economic gain and economic benefit from supporting the nursing workforce. McKinsey's, who have estimated that there could be anywhere between 100 and 300 billion productivity boost through properly supporting health initiatives to support the health of the nursing workforce. The estimate of what poor health and ill health costs the world in terms of missed care and errors, plus also the loss, the potential loss through having good health and people being productive, estimated to be 15% of global GDP. Could amount to something like $12 trillion. And then in the top right hand side, you've got some examples from different places around the world about, well, if you do implement measures to support nurses' health and well-being, there's a cost in the short term. What return on investment do I get? Many people may be reluctant to make the investment because they don't think they'll see the return, or the return will be at a point where they're out of political office, for example. Evidence here of the significance of the return on investment, and that return on investment can come very quickly within the first couple of years. And the return on investment, the reports show, is also comes more quickly in lower income settings. WHO themselves have said globally improving health, safety and well-being of health workers lowers the cost of occupational harm, estimated at around 2% of health spending, minimizes patient harm up to another 12% of health spending. And again, these big billion numbers in terms of the assessed economic benefit through improving the health and well-being of nurses and patient safety as well. There's a lot more evidence both in this year's report and in last year's report as well. And you'll see if you look at it, as I said, this isn't numbers that ICN have done some calculation on. This is bringing together from other leading and eminent organizations and health economists as well, the work that they have put together. We've packaged all of these into, so what do we need to do now? Our Charter for Change. It's a very simple 10-point plan of the ICN recommendations about the support that's needed, not just for the nursing profession, but for the nursing profession to deliver on the global health agenda. This 10-point plan aligns very closely with the strategic directions for nursing and midwifery. It is the global strategic plan for nursing and midwifery. Our work has also been strongly influenced by the work that has been led by Canada, your work on retention, workforce support and development with your chief nurse, hugely important to as evidence and as an example of what can be done and what is possible as well. Colleagues, when the next State of the World's Nursing report, I hope you have seen, was released on the 12th of May. That report gives the very latest global data on the state of the world's nursing. It will be on the agenda at the World Health Assembly, which is next week, and we're asking health ministers who'll be gathering here in Geneva to extend the global strategy on nursing through until 2030. So there are very specific choices and decisions that we want ministers to make in favour of nursing over the next over the next few days and over the next few weeks as well. I hope many of you will be able to join us in Helsinki, because we'll be discussing many of those issues there as well. A bit of a whistle-stop tour, I know, but I hope I've just given you the highlights from the evidence from the report this year and last year as well.
Thanks so much, Howard. And truly, the Charter for Change is an outstanding summary of what we all need to do and come together to ensure that we continue to lobby our governments related to the different dimensions of our profession, whether it be recruitment, retention, leadership, the accredited education programs. Obviously, the CNOs in every single jurisdiction are critically important to that government level leadership. I guess I have a question for you. Often when we think about nursing workforce planning, we pivot to the supply and distribution side and less talk about the workforce optimization. And I see it in the Charter for Change around, optimizing scopes of practice. Has there been any thought with the economic analysis of moving forward with really looking at the economics of return on investment if you actually change the workforce composition and better optimize nurses to realize savings within health systems?
I think it's a really important point that you make, Valerie. That there have been, if we just talk about shortages, we often talk about shortages, but we're quickly talking about big numbers. That in 2020 we said the shortage figure was close to 6 million. It's not changed that much in the latest WHO State of the World's Nursing report. There are academics who've actually taken a different measure of nursing shortage and said it could be up to 30 million. These are huge numbers. If we're struggling to make an impact on a 6 million shortage, 30 million is, you've got to be realistic about how we're going to address whether we're going to address that size, which takes us to your point exactly about, are we maximizing the current nursing workforce? We're getting maximum potential and output and productivity that we possibly can. And the evidence is showing us that there's a lot more that we could do, and it relates exactly to this point about nurses working to full scope of practice and supporting advanced practice as well. If we look at what the global health challenges are around, some places it's about access to healthcare, some places it's about aging, super aging, some places about NCDs, infectious diseases. All of our health systems have got some of these issues. Public health, of course, being another. But we know across all of these conditions, disease groups, domains, nurses are absolutely fundamental in terms of delivering care. And we're not. Question, are we building our health systems, our model of healthcare, sufficiently around nurse-led models? I mean, I often say, actually, when we can, create headaches for ourselves about how are we going to deal with all of these health demands, we have part of the solution right under our noses here in terms of nurses' advanced and specialist practice. But it might not be recognized in countries. There may be regulatory barriers. There may be pushback from fellow health professionals. There may not be the career pathways for nurses to develop into those advanced roles. It may be, this well as well, it may be that some health systems have held back on actually paying for a nurse-led model of care. And if it isn't paid for around the world, no healthcare is going to be delivered if it hasn't been agreed that there's a payment mechanism for it as well. So I think we're bringing forward, we need more evidence on the return on investment. I've highlighted some of it as well, but I think it's a really important part of our narrative nationally and globally as well, that we're not just bringing forward the problems and the challenges that nurses are facing. We are bringing forward really serious and credible solutions that make sense for patients, and also makes sense for ministers of health finance as well.
Right, and that's really important during this current global economic climate. So can you tell me, just from ICN's perspective, because I've been observing some of the communications that have been sent out related to the economic power, but also the shifting tides across the nation and the potential impact of economic downturn. Has ICN been engaged in discussions about clearly demonstrating and having kind of one sort of voice from all different jurisdictions around nurses are here to actually solve this economic crisis we might be heading into?
And this is exactly how we're trying to position the profession globally, and present the evidence, and to make our at the center of our policy and our advocacy asks as well. We're seeing some progress, I think. We've been working closely with the World Economic Forum over the last 2 or 3 years, and we were able to bring nursing to the table at the recent Davos meetings. The World Economic Forum refer to the care economy, and it's beyond health, it's care generally. But again, the evidence, and they pulled together, we were part of this at ICN, the evidence for the economic power of care generally. A lot of that care, unpaid care provided by women, which, you know, maintains the fabric of societies everywhere. So seeing organizations like the World Economic Forum making a priority, putting this on the agenda and on the table as well, was very encouraging and positive to see. But the recent decisions at the beginning of this year, particularly by the US, to say that they're going to withdraw from the World Health Organization, the impact of the closure of US aid as well. I have to say, it's in private corridors at WHO, and I'm speaking to you from Geneva, I hear people refer to it as being catastrophic. It's undoubtedly game-changing the global health financing landscape. We've collected evidence from ICN of nurses who've, you know, almost immediately, some who lost their jobs because the money stopped and the health programs that they were working on were unable to continue. WHO, if the US withdraw, is looking at having to shrink significantly the size of its organization, and therefore it's having to reprioritize. The size of the gap means that it's too big for one other country just to come in and say we can provide this. Similarly with philanthropy, philanthropic organizations, as important as they are, on their own cannot fill the size of the gap that we see. And at the same, if that's not bad enough in terms of the pressures on the funding, at the same time, we know that many countries are having to think about their defense budgets, for example, and their own, you know, their national security has risen right to the top of the agenda. So this, reality, this is you know, I haven't been around for forever, but this feels like a really difficult time to be making the case for investment in nursing. But I think we can do it. I think we have the arguments and we have the evidence, but we have to recognize that the challenges that our politicians and leaders are having to make in all of this as well, and therefore it reinforces for me, if we only make the argument just for nurses on the basis of nursing, it's not going to cut through in the way that we need it to. We have to make the case for nursing in terms of its added benefit and value to both global health, but global economic health and prosperity as well.
Great, Howard. It was such a privilege to work with nurses across the nation to actually complete the survey that went into this report. But I was wondering too, like I'm thinking about here in Canada, you mentioned the Nursing Retention Toolkit that was led by the Chief Nursing Officer, Dr. Lee Chapman. There's also been a ton of effort because there were 8 themes in our toolkit around nurse to patient ratios, minimum ratios, and that work has been co-led with governments and unions across the nation, and sort of stewarded and shepherded by the Canadian Federation of Nursing Unions. So we're seeing uptake in terms of that minimum nurse to patient ratio across different jurisdictions. How do we as national nursing associations make sure that what's working well, what's actually scaling up, that ICN is aware? Because some of the effort is pretty nimble. It's sensible, it's logical. It's not that it's a make work project, it's the right thing to do. What does ICN need from us?
Yeah. Listen, congratulations to all of the nursing organisations and leaders for those initiatives that you've implemented in Canada. You know, the retention toolkit, the work on staffing levels. I know that we were first being given insight into some of that work when we were so generously hosted by CNA and Canada and the people of Montreal at our Congress 2 years ago. Hardly seems that it was 2 years ago. We at ICN have tried to do much more about bringing forward real life examples and case studies. I hope people see it across a range of our work, that if we bring forward the evidence, that can be a bit dry. If we bring forward a policy ask, people might say, well, that's stating the obvious. And politicians may also say, well, this all sounds lovely, but how do we know whether it will work or not? And there is nothing like case studies to show, look, we're not asking political leaders, the policy thinkers, we're not asking you to take some leap of faith in nursing. We can point to nurses, countries, regions, organizations who've implemented a different approach, and it works. I mean, there's examples of the change in the way that of delivering public health from inputs to outputs, which I use from Canada as I can't remember which province now, but I use from Canada as well, because it is just so powerful to show it can be done, it works, and it delivers results quite quickly, and you're not necessarily always having to make a massive upfront investment either. The other thing that I would say from ICN, we're an organization who are built on national nursing associations. They are our members. We've got more than 130 from right the way around the world. National nursing associations, and I'm biased because my overwhelming my career has been spent in national nursing associations and now working in this role. I'm biased. I think they are some of the most underrated civil society organizations, where people really don't get the value of the contribution that they bring. Of course, they're supporting nurses in practice. Nurses will often tell their associations things that they won't tell other people because they know it's a trusted relationship. There's something authentic and real about what associations can bring to the table because of that. But they also not just support nurses through welfare programs and support through professional development, but to bring forward policy solutions, understanding where systems don't work, but how you can fix them as well. And ICN, it's a continual priority and work for us to make sure that those nursing leaders' voices are at the heart of policy decision making. I know you've got a health minister who's a nurse, and I think that's fantastic, where we see nurses who've gone into political positions. But even if we don't have a nurse into a political position, how can anybody make the right call on this type of health system that they want, that's going to deliver for their people, if they are not listening to, engaging, taking advice and expertise from the profession, which in most countries represents 50% of the healthcare workforce? If you're not getting that advice, that expertise, I often say, you're flying blind. You're trying to fly your healthcare system blind as well. And I think that we are making some progress, but I also caution that people say, oh yes, we take advice, and we've got a nurse who's in a university, we go to them for advice. No, nurses need to be embedded in executive C-suite positions in healthcare organizations with budget, with resources, with authority as well. Much more closely aligned, I think, as well. Often you'll see that you've got a chief nurse, but actually the health workforce is at arm's length from them because that's in an HR department or somewhere else as well. So we need to embed nursing leadership. But again, if they say you've got a chief nurse, that isn't job over for us. We need to make sure they're supported, the authority, they're able to really affect the role to the maximum that they can.
So this is great. Just one final question and just a point of clarity. Sadly, Minister Carroll, who was briefly in that position, lost her riding. So we find out next week the new cabinet, and I was just actually communicating with Lee yesterday. And at this point, we don't see any clinicians that actually won seats as members of Parliament. So we'll see who Prime Minister Carney brings together. But you will be proud to know that myself and Dr. Kim LeBlanc did send a letter to the Prime Minister reiterating the importance of the Chief Nursing Officer having legitimate authority at a higher level in the organization and a budget with resources. So that's pretty exciting.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, one final comment before we close. Just how can Canadian nurses are all coming together this week to celebrate their excellence and to reflect on their contributions within the profession? How can they contribute meaningfully to shaping global health and supporting ICN's mandate?
So we look, the first thing we are in, we're in International Nurses Week, and the first point is celebrate today, this week. Take a moment to recognize and reflect on the fact that you made fantastic career choices, the best profession in the world. You make differences to people every day of the week in the way that other roles, other jobs just simply can't. When people say that they trust nurses, we hear that a lot, don't we? But if you think a bit more about why do they trust us? It's because of our principles, our ethics, our approach. It's not some dewy-eyed romantic notion of nurses. They see the reality of nurses. Nurses in a way, humanity in motion. That's what you see through the work of nurses. So we should always reflect and be proud of the work that we do, and together, to celebrate together as well. We're sometimes shy to say we're a profession of 29 million around the world. Well, we're the biggest, and that actually brings some power and influence as well, which we need to use judiciously and thoughtfully. But when we do that, we can be hugely effective. So take those moments, because we know the reality of nurses. We don't often necessarily have that many moments just to take it for ourselves. So do that, of course. But then in terms of, so what can Canadian nurses do? Canadian nurses, you have a hugely important and influential global leadership role. I know when I go around the world that Canada is one of the places that other nurses and other countries will always want to know, what are the Canadians doing? What are their latest developments in nursing practice or in education as well? So, and that's, you've been in that position and you carry that responsibility, and you've carried that responsibility, incredibly well. But you should know that and hear that fed back to you as well. But I think in these uncertain times that we're facing at the moment, there is something. And I need to be careful not to get too political on this, but there's something about how we, as nurses, support our countries and the priorities that exist in our neighbourhoods, in our districts, in our regions, in our countries, but how we do that recognising, without wishing to sound glib, we live in a global village. We're all being affected by pandemics or climate change, regardless. Some more so than others, but there's no alternative planet, and there are not border controls that will stop an infectious disease. And I think that Canada's recognition and leadership over the years for the cooperation, the multilateralism, the working together that we need to solve the big global health problems and to advance nursing is also incredibly important. And when we see this tension between nationalistic priorities in individual issues versus these things that affect us all, and that none of us are going to we can't prepare well for the next pandemic on our own. We need to prepare together. WHO Director General says that frequently, but he's right. And it's not just about the pandemic, it's about other issues as well. And I think that Canadian nurses and Canadian health leaders do have a big role to play there as well. Where an issue that you're challenged on at the moment, Valerie, I know, in terms of the ethical management of international recruitment and migration. I mean, it's a hot issue. It's not straightforward. It's difficult. There are challenges there as well. But recognizing that what we need to do for our country also has consequences for others, and how do we try and make sure that there's benefit and not harm in the way that we act and operate is a hugely important way of working. And I think, as I say, I think that we look to Canada and continue to look to Canada for your global leadership on all of those issues, as well as your national leadership.
Well, that is incredibly wonderful, just a reflection on the importance of all this coming together. And I think of who's attending this session. I know we have all types of regulated nurses. We've got retired nurses, student nurses, and they're fulfilling different role functions, whether they're regulators, educators, associations, unions, foundations. But most importantly, our employers, I hope, are listening and hearing all of these incredible insights. I happened to transition from my previous role as a CEO of a healthcare organization, and I know that employers are working so incredibly collaboratively together to ensure that we invest in our talented and highly qualified workforce, and that we listen to what matters to them. And the IND report really provides an incredible overview of how we have to have the nurse executives and the nurse managers bring that value proposition, our economic power, to every decision-making table. So Howard, I cannot believe how busy the month is that you're in right now, but I want to thank you for the release of the IND report. I can't wait to see the State of the World Nursing Report. And, again, thank you for your incredible leadership. And I hope that you really are able to get our voice out at the World Health Assembly. And I can't wait to see you in person in Helsinki, Finland. So for anybody that's listening who has yet to potentially make that decision, if you can make it work, please register to attend, and you will meet Howard in Helsinki. So Howard,
Valerie,
thank you so much.
Thank you so much. My pleasure to talk to you as well. As I said, enjoy the rest of your week, even though I know that you're at the end of it. Yeah, and I hope to see many of you in Helsinki. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. So just another minute for everyone. So I'm sure you all really appreciated Howard for sitting down for such a wonderful conversation and providing insights, especially around the economic power of nursing and ICN's Charter for Change. Canada was his first interview in this format, which was really surprising to me, so we'll have to do it again. Also, I'm so glad he could take some time to recognize the medal recipients and your contributions to our profession. And now, before we close, I'm proud to make a very exciting announcement. Are you ready? The provinces of Alberta and Newfoundland and Labrador are reuniting with the Canadian Nurses Association. Currently, CNA has two membership models: individual membership or specialty nursing association affiliate with individual membership benefits as part of the Canadian Network of Nursing Specialties. Today, I'm delighted to share that the Alberta Association of Nurses, under the leadership of Kathy Howe, who's the CEO, will be joining us in a new model as an organizational affiliate. So welcome back, Alberta. And for Newfoundland and Labrador, after 2 years of planning and incredible nursing leadership from people such as Madge Applin through working groups, and now a new Newfoundland CNA chapter steering committee chaired by Dr. Cheryl Dyke, they have made the decision to join CNA as a formal chapter. So welcome back, Newfoundland and Labrador. Over the next couple of months, we will be communicating with CNA members and with nurses across the nation on how these two new models will be implemented. So please check your membership status and make sure you join so you can support our advocacy work. I strongly believe together we are stronger to advocate for change, just as Howard so clearly articulated, and to collectively together face the challenges of today and tomorrow. If you are interested in learning more about the ICN initiatives and or the membership options and help us bring together nurses' voices, we invite you to contact us directly. So thank you to all and your families and loved ones for attending this event today. Congratulations again to the recipients of the King Charles III Coronation Medal. Happy Nursing Week to all of you. Bonne semaine de Saint Infirmière. Thank you and have a wonderful long weekend.